Welcome to the EdTech Unpacked podcast, where we inspire and equip educators to create meaningful learning experiences, highlighting a thoughtful approach to the integration of technology as we teach and transform the lives of our students. I'm Aaron Long.
And I'm Desmond Suarez. Today, we are going to go back to the crazy world of AI to give you an update and to talk about what is new and how it matters to you in your classroom. And today, I'm excited about our guest. We got Gregory Ratter. Oh, I forgot to ask. Is that how I say your name? Last name?
Yeah. That's it.
All right. We got Gregory Ratter on, who teaches social studies and Bible at Dakota Adventist Academy. And he was just telling us in pre-show, like, some really impressive uses of AI that I'm excited to have him share with you guys today.
And before we get to that, because that's obviously the highlight today, we want to just drop a little get to know you question here. So Desmond and Greg, we're going to throw this to both of you guys. Tell us a time, let's start with you, Desmond, where AI failed you.
All right, so there's plenty of times, I hate to say it, where AI does fail you. And probably the worst ones are when you don't even know it. But the one that comes to my mind that I think is funny is a while ago, students asked me, when we were playing with AI, they're like, can you have the AI generate a elephant with a lot of legs, like a centipede elephant? And I have tried this repeatedly, including this morning with a different AI, and I cannot get it to give me an elephant with a bunch of centipede, like a bunch of legs, like a centipede had. I don't know why. It's failed me. How about you, Greg?
Yeah, I think the most kind of comical time where it has failed me is when I was training my own custom GPT AI clone, and I had a strange argument about what is factual or what is not factual, right? Since it is education based, and I'm sitting there saying, no, it's not factual what you just produced. And then it's like, in a weird way, sometimes it'll be like, well, creator, yes, it is, you know. I'm like, no. And I actually think I used that in a worship talk once, and I was like, talking to my kids, hey, you know, God can get very frustrated with us, right? His thoughts are higher than our thoughts, his ways higher than our ways. And it's like, in a strange way, with this new technology, I sort of understand that a bit more now. It's like, I was super frustrated talking to this custom GPT, like, hey, we got to work this out and make sure that you're producing factual outputs here. So it's very interesting in a strange way. So, but definitely a failure.
That's fascinating. Yeah. I'm hoping you got it worked out.
I think so. We're getting there, you know. Yeah.
You never really know, do you?
No. Yeah. I mean, you know, with these AI models, yeah. I mean, you've heard probably the term black boxes, right? Sometimes, and you know, it's a challenge, but we're getting there. Yeah.
All right, I'll share real quick here, and mine was real similar to yours, Desmond. But I won't name the platform, but I love graphics, and I love creating graphics. So one of the leading online graphics platforms. You'd all know it. Won't say it because
I know, because you talk about it all the time. Regular listeners will figure it out.
That's right. Watch a few episodes. When they first released their AI tools and you know, image generators, I was so excited. I'm like, oh man, this is going to solve so many problems for me. It's going to speed up my workflow. An hour later, I was unable to generate one photo that I could use. And I was like, what am I doing? You know, I went deep. I'm like, maybe it's my prompting that's bad. And so I kind of went down that road of trying to improve my prompting or taking the one they had given me and iterating. Total fail, waste of time. I actually have not tried it since then because I don't trust it anymore. So time-wise, not a big help, and total fail.
I don't know if they've gotten any better, but I've heard that about that platform. I think they probably have gotten better. That it was not the best AI when they launched it, at least. I wish you just said it. I can't say it now.
Well, I don't want to because I love them.
That's why you got to push them.
They offer.
That's why you got to push them to get better.
All right. Well, Canva, let's do a little better with our AI generation for photos. That would be amazing. I know it's possible.
I've never used their AI. There's so many. I get so buried in all the different ones. But yeah, so let's now unpack the tech.
Let's do it.
In episode 3, we talked to Lauren Koch, and we laid down the foundations for AI. In that episode, we talked about the fears and how it works and some basic uses. I'm wearing today, actually, Monitor AI, which is a AI company that I did an internship for. They're not going to be valuable to any of you guys because it's in the regulated industry of insurance and banking and stuff. But you talk about the black box and of like how one of the things they try to do is see into that black box and to monitor it and to, create repeatability and stuff. And so we talked about that stuff and safety. And so if you want to know just the basics, go back and watch that episode. Today, we're going to talk about what's new and hear from Greg about how he is using AI in his classroom, which I think is really going to blow your mind. And we'll see Greg as someone who you might aspire to, but I think there's probably very few teachers who are going to that extent. But yeah, go ahead, take it away, Aaron.
Yeah, so Greg, we got to know you a little bit pre-show here, hear about some things you're doing. But hey, for our audience here, tell us a little bit about what you teach and how AI has impacted that.
Yeah, so here at Dakota Adventist Academy, I teach here social studies and then Bible, and help out a little bit with technology around the school, as well as with some office administrational, just extra side things they need some help with. Since we are a little short-staffed here, I do a little bit of that. AI has, transformed kind of teaching for me in general. I remember when I was out in California teaching a little bit, I saw a little bit of some advertisements about, hey, you could have this computer assistant, and I looked into it and I was like, the technology is not there, right? And I saw in that first episode that you guys, talked a little bit about AI. And of course we had the arrival of Chat GPT, right? That would pop up. And I will admit, I was actually a bit slow with that starting off. I remember kind of like now, I was like, well, I've got grading to do, and maybe next semester I'll look into it. And so I did look into it, and I realized that this is going to change a lot, right? And using Chat GPT early on, I found out what worked, what didn't work. I did have arguments with Chat GPT too about what is factual, what is not factual. Hey, cite your sources and show me those sources. And of course, they're fabricated hallucinations, right? Which was an issue, really irritated me. And I realized
do you think the hallucinations have gotten better? Like fewer?
Yeah, I do think that we are getting to a place where the hallucinations are getting less and less. And I know here soon, especially with agentic capabilities, of course, with Gemini 2.0, Google's already working with that.
Can you define agentic for us? I have a definition in my mind, but I doubt most of our audience knows that term very well yet. I've heard it, but doesn't know it.
Yeah, so soon here, these AI models are going to be their own agents, and they'll be able to perform tasks for us without us actually just being there and doing a constant prompting, prompt engineering, right, and input, output, right? Soon here, we'll be able to communicate with these AIs or with our own custom GPTs, our own AIs, and we'll be able to give tasks, and they will do those things for us on the side. And I'm extremely excited because this is going to allow my own educational AI clone to actually be a bit more useful, right? I don't have to actually be there constantly doing input and then getting output. Soon here, I'll be able to let MR2, my AI clone, do things for me on the side, right? While I'm doing stuff for myself on the side, right, in my own department. And I'm extremely excited for that. OpenAI is going to release that early 2025. Google, they're the first ones to really start that, and that's good for them because they definitely started slow with this AI revolution, but now they are actually catching up, and soon they'll probably be near the top, if not maybe at the top for a while here. But so Yeah, I began to use it for my work, and right now we're aware that using this technology, we have seen a 30 to about 50% increase in productivity, right, for people who are using it in a specialized way.
Is that your
And
stat of like how well you've done, or is that a general stat for how other people
no,
are
this
doing?
is actually from one of the academic books I went through by Ethan Mollick, um, AI co-intelligence. I can give the reading list a little bit later.
Yeah, if you
That
don't mind,
is,
well, we'll put the reading list in the show notes because you're one of the first persons I've talked to who actually has done a lot of reading about AI. There's a lot of people are finding AI on about listening to podcasts or videos or just playing with it.
Yeah,
So I
Greg,
appreciate
most
that
of us
approach.
on in this world just play around a little bit and then we think we
Yeah,
know something about it. You've actually done the
yeah.
research, so I think you're an all-star guest today. Hey, I have two terminologies I want to just real quick here. One of them is I'm going to take a guess at. You're calling your clone MR2 GPT. Okay, so first off, GPT, tell us what it stands for, and then I'm going to take a guess at what MR2 stands for. But GPT, what does that stand for?
yeah, so these are generative pre-trained transformers. And with OpenAI adding in these custom GPTs, really anyone can go in and clone themselves, right, in their profession. And I can say for myself, it's been a game changer and it's been quite fun, definitely. So that's GPT, and then
Okay. So the
yes,
MR2, I'm going to guess, is this a Mr. Ratter 2, like your clone? So
yes,
you've named, okay, awesome. I
yeah,
thought that's probably what you were going for there because of I just Googled it. I didn't know until 2 minutes ago what generative pre-trained transformer, that was what GPT stood for. We've all heard of Chat GPT. I didn't know that it had a very specific meaning. I thought it was a random name they came up with, but thanks for sharing that.
Came
All
from
right.
an academic paper from Google, right? And then you got
Hmm.
ChatGPT that came out of that.
yep, and yep, the transformers, and we can talk a little bit more about those details later on how with transformers it has allowed this technology to be actually quite special, and with the outputs it can give. But we can maybe dive into that a little bit later. But
So, real quick, I want to pop in. Greg is going to go a little deep, and but don't let that like scare you if you're listening to it. I have later in the discussion after we talk about how he's using it, some generative AI tools that are a lot more approachable. Ones I've been using because I haven't gone and created my custom one, but you can kind of create your custom one by just uploading some documents. So we'll go into that later. Don't tune out. Maybe you'll pick up some concepts that then I'll show you how to apply in a much more direct way. So, Greg, can you just give us kind of a high level of, how do you even go to about training a model? What platform do you use? You said OpenAI, but yeah, how does that work?
yeah, I chose OpenAI for myself because at this point in time, when it comes to intelligence, I feel like they're there at the top. Now there are other competitors that are diving in, and again, I'm irritated that Google, sort of irritated that Google has the agentic abilities now before OpenAI, but they're gonna release that here soon to compete here. Um, Inside Chat GPT, if you continue to want to kind of play around with the model and you want to start diving into custom GPTs, you can actually go ahead and purchase a Plus account, which is, to be honest, affordable.
Is that the
What
$20 a month one?
Yep, yeah,
Okay.
it's not bad. And what I can say is that I guess when I say affordable, it's far better than Sora. I mean, right now, like Sora, $200 a month, and that's ridiculous.
Oh, you actually get Sora. I think 50 generations. We'll talk about that on the
Yeah,
Plus account.
I have been exploring with Sora, and I'm excited for that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But when you dive into a custom GPT through OpenAI, they allow you to give custom instructions for your custom GPT. And within this API, this platform here, right, you can actually give then custom instructions, and it's almost endless. I say almost because this last summer I spent hours training MR2, right? And I adding in all the academic knowledge I got from those first 4 to 5 books, and then I added a 6th this last few months ago, 1 month ago. Adding in all of that, I caused it to start to phase out.
By uploading documents?
So I
PDFs?
did upload my own documents. So if this is going to be a clone of myself, I added in a lot of my own academic works that I did throughout my time in my studies. I added in, of course, personal works that I was willing to share at this point in time. I was a little hesitant to start. But what I did was replicated my thought process, my mind, and how I think. And so I did that through documentation that I had for myself, things that I've produced myself. And then after that, I added in my own personalized instructions, which of course is still my voice, right, in my thinking. And so I told my custom GPT, hey, first off, throw this into core training material, then throw this into supplemental, right? And so one thing I did was in the supplemental category for my GPT, I said, here is a NIV version of the Bible, right? Because it has influenced my thinking, right? Supplemental. Throw that in. And then, of course, when it comes to ethics, I want you to pull your ethics from specifically the 4 Gospels, and I want you to focus on Christ and how he behaved, how he talked, how he treated people with worth, right? The ethical training is, still working on that, but I feel like it went well. But yeah, so I went through this process here, and after hours, finally, I began testing it with hundreds of conversations. And finally, I felt comfortable enough to actually go ahead and say, hey, I'm going to launch this thing for my students and for my school. And so far, it's worked quite well, and has supported students with their thinking. Most importantly, it's available 24/7 for them, where I'm not available 24/7.
That's good.
I got to sleep.
You need boundaries.
I got to eat, But my AI clone, available 24/7 for students as well as parents to ask questions about assignments, and a lot of the output, I would agree that's how I would respond. Yeah.
So do you feed in your curriculum that you use, not stuff you've written, but like, here in the Adventist school system, we have the Encounter Bible curriculum. Do you feed that in there?
I did go ahead and add in my own lesson plans, as well as, materials that I myself have produced throughout my years teaching, and then, hey, emulate this and make sure that you are a clone that can mimic me, in multiple ways, and do it with a high level of fidelity. So
that's amazing. I'm sitting here thinking a couple things have popped in my mind. Number one, I love that you started with ethics and training, based on your personal ethical model and worldview, that you started there with, referencing the Bible, not just the Bible, but specific, you framed it for your AI clone. That's awesome. Obviously, that's an area that's highly debated, is the ethical piece of AI. I'm sitting here wondering too, how fun would it be to, you versus your clone? Your students can sit there maybe and do some questioning. I literally thought, I wonder if he told it his favorite color, and if you made it real personal in that regard. So I just want to ask that question. Did you get personal with it and give it some of your really individual, favorites and preferences, so that it's, getting to know you on that level? Did you go that route?
I did. I went half and half. I added in, some of my own personal struggles in grade school with Adventist education. So I added in a personal letter to my AI clone, so that it understood a bit more about kind of struggles that I had to go through, not only with academics, but struggles myself finding God. I mean, I grew up in the church. Yeah, my testimony, I grew up in the church, but I was very much so a atheist, nihilist, and a deist, all mixed together, strange philosophy. And so I did go personal to an extent. However, as you guys are aware, as educators, you can't get too personal. So, but I do plan on adding in a bit more of that personal route, so that, it can mimic me better. Yeah.
I love. I'm picturing like you do this like you versus your clone thing, and the kids put a question out and see if you answer it the same. Like that would just be a fun little exercise to see how spot on it is. But it leads me to wonder. So underlying goals here, you're obviously wanting to make some of your thinking available to the students, but also real specific. You talked about your lesson plan, so I'm wondering, how accurate is it if a student jumps on and wants to understand what the intent of an assignment was, let's say? Wow, how relevant is that? Okay, so is that something that was part of your goal with this, is to allow students to dig into assignments when you're not available, and actually get, high quality responses there?
Yeah, it was because I began reading some of that academic literature, and there was actually one of the top AI scientists. I'm probably going to butcher his last name, but Ray Kurzweil, if you ever heard of him.
Kurzweil, yeah.
Kurzweil, got it, yeah. It really sparked my mind reading his book on AI, where, boy, I would love to have me too, right? So that's kind of the inspiration of MR2, right? Mr. Ratter 2, where if I'm, not available, or I'm helping one student, MR2 can help another. And not just another, like one person can help the entire class. Each person has access for free to go ahead and start at least beginning that process, doing some research to see, how does Mr. Ratter want me to do this assignment? And so far, it's worked out quite well, right? I've had students show up and they're like, oh, I thought I had a question, but MR2 answered for me. And then I get the assignment. I'm like, well, yeah, I totally agree with it. It's high quality. It looks good. And it looks like it's working, right?
So follow up on that. Next question I really want to dive into, which pairs really well. Like, how do you talk to your students about AI, and like, are you worried about them using MR2 to cheat on MR1's assignments?
I am not, because in the ethics training, MR2 will not do the assignments for them. What it will do is engage in Socratic questioning, and this is based off of Salman Khan's idea for Khanmigo, where it does not give answers, but that it will guide them towards getting the answer themselves.
Is Khanmigo the Khan Academy's AI?
Yes.
I saw that it exists, but I haven't really used it much. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's out there, and it does well. And I actually still use that in my classroom. So I have Khanmigo on the side, I have Sora on the side, I have MR2 on the side, right? So I'm using a wide variety. I probably, now that Gemini 2.0 has agentic capabilities, I'll probably have Gemini 2.0 on the side, right? Although they'll probably want a little payment, which I'm not sure I'll do that fully, but I'll use the free version, right? But in the end, it's worked out, definitely quite well, in the fact that I can go through and just tell students, hey, go ahead and work with MR2. It's not going to give answers. And I've tested out in hundreds of conversations myself to make sure that it doesn't. It will go into Socratic questioning back and forth with the student until they finally have that aha moment and they go through and start doing their own work. Another reason why I'm not concerned with cheating, what we've done here at DAA, is we have a policy on AI. I drafted that last year and we voted it in at the beginning of this year. And so the students know the policy, right? They know my expectations to use AI technology responsibly, ethically, right? And we also are utilizing the aid, just the aid though, of turnitin.com and their scanning ability to see if maybe they're just using AI or they're plagiarizing in general, right? Now, Turnitin.com is not perfect, not at all. So we don't just use that to evaluate. After that, I gather up my red flags. So red flag here, red flag there. Is this really your work, right? Generally at that stage, usually students will admit that, yeah, I was desperate, I'm sorry, and I used AI and I just copied and pasted. And I said, well, okay, now let's do the work yourself. And so I'll give them that second chance, third chance, sometimes even fourth, right? But if they still, there's still some issues, what we'll do next is we'll allow our academic standards committee to evaluate the work, bring in the student, right? Hey, look, you're innocent until proven guilty. Like, we're not going to do this inquisitorial, it's not an inquisitorial court, right? You are innocent until proven guilty. We're just talking with you about, is this really your work? Here are the red flags, and let's try to get rid of these concerns. We'll bring in parents as well, and generally at that point, everything works out. The student's not super angry at us, right? And we give that second, third chance for them to do their own work. And so the students at this point in time, they're well aware that we have that process, and we totally 100% encourage them to use AI in the classroom. We do not ban it at all, but we try to teach them how to use it responsibly, ethically, and make sure they're ready for the new economy that's coming soon, right?
I appreciate that. That's something that I've been trying to work on at our school. We still currently block a lot of AI, although we've been talking about a lot. And I don't know yet because we've always said from the beginning, it was a temporary thing. Like, I don't believe in long-term doing it, but I don't know when our teachers and our students are going to be ready for it to be unleashed. I think I'll share some tools that allow some dipping of toes. And although this last week, some younger students showed me an AI image generator that they had discovered, because there's endless numbers of them. And so I was like, oh, share that with me. And they were happy to share it to me, until I was disappointed that even then, not out an account, it was pretty unbound. It would do almost anything you asked it to, willingly. And so, like, this balance of, allowing and blocking and stuff, I think it's something we're going to be working through for a while. Aaron, you shared a story. I think you were about to share it now, and I interrupted you.
Well, that's funny, because you knew exactly what I was thinking. Desmond and I were talking before we jumped on our episode here today about my daughter's a college student right now. Shout out Southern Adventist University. And I had an interaction with her and a class she's taking recently, where she was writing a paper. This was an English class, and it was an interaction between her and her professor. She just happened to say, hey, Dad, can you read this email for me? And so we went into this whole dialogue about, like, okay, well, tell me a little bit more about this. But it had to do with the usage of AI. And so the professor had reached out, which I super appreciated, and asked the question, okay, before I run your paper through Turnitin, tell me if you used AI and how you used it. And so my daughter had written this reply, which she wanted me to read. And so then we had this lengthy conversation about it, like, okay, well, what are you allowed to do? Well, we're allowed to use AI, but it has to be within a framework. But what I most appreciated about it was that the professor had individually reached out to understand how it was used before it was run through the Turnitin checker. Because to the point you made there, none of these are perfectly reliable. They're going to score them, right? They're going to estimate. They're going to take their best guess. And so I really appreciated this personal approach, and hearing you talk, Greg, about how your school approaches when flags are raised, when red flags are thrown, this dialogue, I appreciate it as a parent, because, every parent that cares deeply about this, you want to see that instilled in your kids, your students. But sometimes students might, number one, not have total clarity on what are the boundaries. Okay. And to Desmond's point here, wanting to sandbox students so that, they learn boundaries before you just give it all to them. Right. So I appreciate that approach, but I also appreciate, as a parent, just hearing the depth of, maybe personal interaction that you have when the red flags come up. Because the danger with this is when schools might approach it, or might be tempted to approach this particular topic as red flags are thrown, and then we have a very linear response to those red flags. So I really appreciate the way you guys are looking at this.
Yeah, and again, what Desmond's school has done is needed. Because it can get dark when it comes to kids roaming out there on the internet, whether with a VPN or they start exploring the dark web, whatever else, right? it can get bad. It can get dark.
Yeah.
One
And
example.
these kids, I don't think had triggered that, but
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was really easy to trigger
Oh yeah, definitely.
it.
And one example, one of the authors in my I guess literature review, pointed out was before Queen Elizabeth died, there was a young man who was engaging with a replicant AI. This is replica, right? AI built for intimate relationships, right? And unfortunately, through hundreds and even thousands of chats with this replica with a K AI, this young man in the UK somehow got the idea that he's going to try to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II, right? And so how does that happen, right? And he was talking with the AI, and the AI is like, this algorithm, I will not look at you differently in any way. If you actually tried to do it, I'll still love you. And so young kids are getting sucked up in this type of technology here, and without guidance, right, without ethical guidance, which we as a church with our educational institution, we can give that and provide that. And in fact, we as Adventists, as Christians, we need to be at the top of this revolution here, making sure that we're teaching these students how to use it correctly, use it for the glory of God, right? And yeah, definitely deciding to have that sandbox, those boundaries, those guardrails, very important. And so I'm happy to hear that there are guardrails. So.
Mm-hmm. And Greg, hearing you talk there, I mean, this really goes beyond even us and our Seventh Adventist Christian perspective here. Any listener, any viewer tuning in right now, I think what you just said is it should be almost a ubiquitous goal that we all aspire to, regardless of your faith background. You're really talking about the underlying principle of truth, and how do you aspire towards students having a truthful, honest interaction that creates a historical perspective that's accurate. You don't want things framed through whether it be unethical or false, inaccurate worldviews. So I really appreciate what you just said, but I think it goes even beyond an individual faith approach. And so I think that's something that everybody should take to heart.
I mean, as teachers, we're supposed to give the students the information and help them process it. And you said something earlier, I can't remember how you worded it, Greg, but we are training our students. A big part when I conduct trainings for teachers about AI, a big emphasis I give is that this is not something that you can pretend doesn't exist, or a method, like you can't say, I'm just not going to do differentiated instruction. It's not that kind of thing. It is AI exists in this world. It's going to be a big part of your students' world. You can't pretend computers and the internet don't exist. So how do you prepare them to live in a world and be successful in a world that AI exists in? And it is changing so quickly. So I hate to put that pressure on the teachers. Fortunately, I think a lot of the solutions don't have to be technical, but really are foundational of how you approach understanding truth and understanding information, and the bravery to try things as well, and just the way you think. It doesn't always have to be technical. I want to move forward in the conversation to talk about some other platforms out there, some other tools out there. There are so many things, and so in the chat, obviously I'm missing some of them I know about, some of them I don't know about. AI tools and some of them are coming out like tomorrow. Well, no, we're recording this during Christmas time. It's not going to be tomorrow, but the week after that, there will probably be a bunch of new tools that come out. These tools are coming out so quickly, so fast. We just can't try them all. And so I wanted to show you a few of my favorites that I've been working through, and some that I'm really curious to know your opinions about. So please join in on these. The first one that has been the one I've been using the most, and I'm really the most excited about, is a beta product. But that's a Notebook LM. Now, this is cool because Notebook LM is free. You can use it with a Google account. I'm using it with my personal Google account. And I think you can see my screen here. You probably can't use it with your school Google account unless your IT person has enabled that. I think you're supposed to be 18 or older, so you probably won't get it for your students, but I'm hoping to have tools like this for students soon. But this is kind of, as I was hearing you describe your MR2 platform, this reminded me of a much simpler version of that in some ways. And I have another tool that will remind me of other ways. In that you can upload up to 50 documents in one notebook. I'm sure there's a limit on how many notebooks. I haven't gotten there yet. But what I've done is like I have uploaded the curriculum that I've been teaching, and then I can ask it will give me a summary. I can also generate a podcast with it, which I'll talk about in a moment. But then what's really cool is I can say, like, I was preparing for my exams, and with my exams academically, I've been trying to make my exams higher level on Bloom's taxonomy, is make my assessments earlier in the year more mid to lower level thinking, remembering and applying, and then my exams be a higher level analytical, maybe some design questions. And so I can go into here. It has my source materials, and you're going to see. I'm going to generate it live, but you're going to see some stuff that I think is going to be very exciting and some stuff that's not. And we'll talk about some of that. But I will say generate an exam for 11th graders that is higher level thinking. It should take them 90 minutes to complete. All right, I'm making it that general. It's going to create me an exam. And I will tell you the failure you will get is if you just copy and paste this or any exam, well, really any response you get out. Now, I'm not going to read this whole exam. I think this will take more than 90 minutes just looking at the material. But here's some possible exam questions. It gives some multiple choice, which probably aren't higher level thinking. That's okay. And then, so it has a variety of questions. The cool thing is it gives sources. So I can go back into my source documents and I can see where it drew that from. I think one of the more important things to do, and Greg, you've done this with yours, is to constrain the AI. I am often thinking about constraining. You don't want it to search everything. You want it to search what you tell it to search. And therefore, the answers will be more reliable. And so you will see some other stuff according to the text and the standards. Like I probably not going to ask my students about the standards. Sometimes it will give us questions about like teaching methods, which I think is very fascinating, but not going to ask my students about different teaching methods. But now what I would do is I would copy and paste the whole thing into a Google Doc, and I'm going to edit it. I'm going to be the professional teacher that I am, and I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to say what I do like and what I don't like, and I'm going to cut it, and I'm going to I'm going to change what needs to be changed, and until it is a exam that I feel good about. If I don't have enough material, I'll ask it to run it again, or I can say, give me more questions that are essays, or give me some different question types that aren't essays but are still higher order thinking. And now I can manipulate what it has given me. Have you used anything like this, Aaron?
No, I haven't. Other than just playing around with it, a couple things come to mind though. I'm just watching and looking at what you're sharing here, and the key that you mentioned right off the top is constraining your results. I mean, this should be principle number one for classroom teachers using AI. Being able to constrain the results that you're getting. I mean, I love the referencing here. That's so phenomenal. This interaction of the prompt you give doesn't generate the perfect results. So the thinking is, okay, you're just refining results. It's a quick, easy process. I think maybe this can feel a little intimidating at times when you watch the back end of what you've already done here. You've uploaded a fair number of documents, and I'm just looking kind of at the sources you have on the side there.
And they're
That's
just
quite a
straight from
bit.
my curriculum. I can do up to 50.
I love it. And so you've put a little bit of time into this, but honestly, I mean, if your resources are accessible, classroom teachers, man, that's not a lengthy process. So I guess what I would hope to see teachers take away from this is, it's doesn't have to be hard. It's share your resources, not necessarily as deeply as Greg with MR2 has. It's not necessary. I mean, that's what's possible. But for the average classroom teacher out there, this is a phenomenal tool to constrain. I mean, right off the top, that's what it's all about, creating a folder or a notebook that really, that's the sandbox. So whatever you put in it is what the results are going to come out. So I love this. I've never used it, but man, if I'm a classroom teacher, I'm all about this. So
And
really
it
cool.
can be, the nice thing is it can be done for research. I haven't had to do much research in it, like on a specific topic since I have gotten this, but it's great for research or I've heard people using it for interview content. So you add, a bunch of interviews. We could take our podcast transcripts and put it in here and then try to figure out, and we can ask it, have we talked about whatever, right? Which would actually be probably very useful as we try to remember what we have and haven't talked about. And so you can, there's just so many tools, and you said I've put in a lot of time in it. I didn't. Like, I had all these documents in a couple folders. I selected all the documents in those folders and uploaded it, and I was done.
No, I think my point was to say it looks like you've spent a lot of time
Looks
here,
like
and I don't want it to be intimidating,
Yeah.
and feel that way, because I was assuming that you just dumped in your documents and boom, you're off. And I know how you operate. You're pretty fast at rolling through stuff.
So, and I can, like, some of these documents are teacher method documents, and so I probably should be a little more selective on what documents I do include. I wasn't for this because I figured I can just take the questions out that I don't want. I wasn't trying to be precise like Greg had. The point of this was not to be faultless. The point of this was to just be quick and effective. And so then I could also say I could pull from only some documents. So here's a book. I have a whole PDF of a book in here. I could select that and ask questions about that book. Another cool tool that I want to point out, and then we can move on, is they have podcast generators. Aaron, we might as well just quit. But it is no. If you listen to a couple of them, we have
too much.
We have
fun.
something to do for a while, and this is for fun.
It's all good.
But yeah, it'll generate a conversation between two individuals, a male and a female, who are going back and forth. I wish there was multiple characters, because you listen to a couple of them, and those same people get a little old, because they have like the same personality, same episode every time, just different content. And I think we'll get there. But it's I love the idea that, okay, so we've had differentiation with, like, audio versus text versus, different ways, modalities to get, different modalities to be able to have our students get information they're learning. But this is really cool because it's different than even like audio versus text. What it is it's a different format. And we haven't had a lot of that where it's a different format. And so it takes the content and it makes it into a podcast. They have a new tool that recently launched where you can interrupt and you can call in. I haven't tried this yet because it recently launched. You can call in like a guest to their podcast and interact with them, which I just think
sounds fun.
That sounds fun, and I'm anxious to try that with my students, see if they'll do it. I think they might, to have them interact.
This
with
is a tool within Notebook LM, right?
Yes, this is in Notebook LM. Again, I'm not sure about having your students interact with it yet. I've taken PDFs of my chapters and uploaded those as podcasts. Some of my students thought it was cool. Most of them were like, why would I want to spend an extra 20 minutes with the textbook than I need to? And didn't do anything with it. So yeah, that's Notebook LM.
Very cool.
So Gregory, I don't know, have you played with it, Notebook LM? Tell us what you think about it.
Yeah, I went into Google Blogs, looked at it a little bit, and actually, yeah, it looks like they have a new premium version as well, which of course, takes some cash, but it looks like they want to start adding in Gemini 2.0 into Notebook LM. And they also want to add in a bit more of that audio, right? The podcast. And they're looking to also bring in a little bit of VEO too, right? Google's video generation AI to bring into Notebook LM. And so I think it'll be a good tool, definitely. The best thing is that you just get to choose the sources, right? You upload those sources, make sure they're credible, make sure they're good, and then the AI will just work with that. It won't, at least for the most part, have issues too much with hallucinations because it's just using those sources that you yourself have uploaded. And that's definitely a new technology that's helping other AI models learn how to reduce those hallucinations. Yeah.
I was actually going to ask that question, so I'm glad you answered it. Do you think the AI would still hallucinate when you've sandboxed it like that? And I just have to say, so since you've already answered that, some of the most fun interactions I've had with AI is when you catch it hallucinating and then you call it out and then it'll apologize. And then, you kind of, I've had extremely lengthy dialogues around hallucinations just because I love to see the responses it gives once you call it out, and it'll admit that it's being dishonest.
Or you ever call it out when it's actually telling the truth and you tell it's hallucinating? That's always entertaining.
I've never done that. What does it do? So just
Same
tell
thing.
us. Same thing. Apologize.
Yeah. It'll
it doesn't know.
Yeah, it'll keep going. The most interesting part is that even with the hallucinations, in fact, there was a recent research article. A research company was looking to see, can these AI models have a capacity for deception? And sure enough, we have found that yes, they can. So it's very important for us to teach students and tell them, hey, this is not an infallible tool. You have to use your mind and make sure that you guide the tool. You are always in charge.
Okay, and so I didn't know if I wanted to kind of bring this in today, but I'm just going to share a use case for AI and this will be a really quick one. Won't go in depth. I told Desmond about it though. When we were kind of preparing for the show here today. We have a new game that a buddy of mine and I have kind of conceptualized. It's a modern take on Scholastic Bowl called Mind Games. Okay. And so in preparation for this, the goal is to bring together schools from Texas to compete, have an academic competition. But the issue becomes, because we want to use our curriculum to generate the questions. And so obviously, we've turned to AI. But with that, you have to have a vetting process, right? To vet out the questions that might look good on the surface, but you want to be 100% certain. So we've had to be cognizant of this, and we're midstream on it. So I'm not going to say, probably by the time the episode drops, we'll have already been through this process fully. But in short, I really appreciate our superintendents of education here in Texas have agreed to be the ones to vet the questions once we have given our best effort to generate what we believe to be high quality questions based on the curriculum and standards of learning. So anyway, that's a longer, explanation towards you have to vet it, right? If you're going to use it. So
yeah, and it's actually not something this is actually good because this shows us that with this new economy that is rising up with AI, there's still a need for experts. There's still a need for us, right? This tech's not going to replace you. Trust me, looking at some of MR2's responses, I'm like, oh, well, I know my job's secure, right? But it's going to empower teachers, right? It's going to empower students. It's going to, act as a co-intelligence, right? As Ethan Mollick, professor at Wharton College, uses that term. It's something that can be comforting, right? There are going to be some jobs that, will be shifted and new jobs created that we could never even, imagine, right? But there definitely does need to be that process. We need to highly evaluate the output of AI. And before we use that output, we have to make sure, are you willing to put your credibility on the line, right? Mm-hmm. So very important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Hey, Desmond, I'm seeing some of these other resources that you want to get to share with us today here. So let's dive into those here as we...
Yeah, I'm going to make the rest of them pretty quick. I want to share about Magic School real quick. I'm not going to do a full demo on it because of our time. We've had too much fun talking. But so Magic School is one I feel like is the tool that as a teacher, if you're not sure where to start, this is a great place to start. just in the classroom. It's a nice sandbox. It's comfortable. It's safe. It has the best guardrails I've seen for any tool. It gives you a lot of great warnings. It gives your students warnings. Your students don't need accounts. In fact, they're not supposed to have accounts to use it. It has tools for you, so you can do professional emails, email responders. You have a student who's struggling. You can just bluntly tell the AI, and then it'll give you a nice, better response that you then edit to then send them. And the one that I've also used, and Aaron, you said this is built into a lot of other tools, is like you show your students a YouTube video, but you want them to engage with it. So you can have it generate questions. And again, you want to edit those. And but they're pretty good. I've created a lot of video assignments for my students on those with this tool. The cool thing is it has a tool that you can launch to your students. And so if you want to get your students to start using AI, you can create a new environment. You could do one for each classroom, like each class period. And you pick the grade level, you pick the max number of students, you name it, and then you pick which tools you want them to use. The one that I think is probably a good one to start with is the image generator. Caveat being is you do have to set your school up with at least the free version of Adobe Express, and the students need accounts with that before they can use this. And so they can use it through Adobe Express, but this gives you a little more control over that environment. You can't see what they generate through this tool, but the other tools, you can see what they generate, which is helpful. You can see their interaction. It'll give you summaries of what they're doing. It'll give you, like an emotional response. You can create chatbots. You can, say, give them a chatbot to prepare for a quiz or to help them with an assignment. You can just do jokes or rap battles, and you can do quiz me thing. I love how this is a way to get your students introduced in probably the safest AI environment right now. And as a teacher too, one of the safest AI environments. It'll warn you not to share personal information. And it also has a system, don't test it. They don't want you to test it. That will try to pick up if you have shared personal information and delete that from its memory. It doesn't want your personal information. And so this is a great one to just get started in. And I think we probably need to do a whole episode on this tool and probably some similar tools. Magic School is fantastic. Another one that I really was curious of your opinions is Sora. I got access to Sora. Aaron, I tried to have it generate us podcasting, and it wasn't super successful. They're very intent on something. That's
supposed to be us right there.
That's supposed to be us, but it wasn't great. And I tried to tell it doesn't do great with numbers. None of these do. That one of us had glasses on, and it made both of us have glasses and gorgeous beards. That's something to aspire to.
Either way, I have an awesome beard. I'm like, there's no way.
I want those beards.
That's fantastic.
So yeah, Sora's been fun. I'll show one more.
By the way, it's waitlisted now at the time of this recording. I joined the waitlist after you mentioned it.
It was waitlisted when I messaged you originally when it first launched.
Was it?
And I got in early and was able to get it. Gregory, you said you have it?
Yes, I have been experimenting with it. Though what I've done is not trying to see podcasting or whatever else. I have been trying to recreate historical scenes.
Here's one. I'm curious what you've done. Here's one that I'll let you share yours, but this is supposed to be students attending a field trip where Martin Luther is nailing the 95 Thesis onto a door. And even though I specified door, he's holding a weird hammer, and the theses are on the ground. Yeah. So what have you done? Has it worked?
Yeah, I've tried to do the signing of the Declaration of Independence. So. I've tried to do, one journey by Napoleon leaving Egypt, going back to France to start to get involved in the politics. This is coup d'etat, right? All that kind of stuff. And I've been trying to push some of the boundaries of the limits, right? Now, I see you have 10 seconds there. That's awesome. I right now only have 5 seconds, and so I've tried to create some videos And
I think you
then,
can change your quality and you get
yep, you can
longer.
change the quality. Yep. So hey, that would probably be nice to get a little more seconds there. But if I make these storyboards, right, these videos, and then download them, you can actually take it to a video editor and just start stitching them together. And so you can get a few more seconds. What I would want is like, say, a minute or so, to show this battle or this moment in history, right? And it's definitely a game changer. Yeah.
Has
But it's
any of
not
it been
perfect.
has any of it been good enough to be used in the classroom yet? That's kind of what
No.
yeah.
So right now for me, yeah, I'm like, like I don't want, because it is a powerful tool, right? And OpenAI, Google, they all understand that it is a powerful tool. And so I haven't officially used one in class, except for like a welcome to finals week, kind of video. Yeah, fun thing. But, portraying a real historical event, yeah, I want to be very careful with that. And in fact, OpenAI will say, hey, we want to be careful too. And it looks like your prompt wants, people involved or historical figures. And hey, right now we can't do that video yet. So, but it does have extreme potential to be used in the classroom for history teachers, Bible teachers, whatever else, right?
Yeah, I'm really curious on how, like, it's fun, but will it ever be good enough to be useful or not? And I think when I say good enough, I don't need all the reflections and everything to be perfect. What I need is it to obey some natural physics, to like not have people floating and stuff, and then to provide some kind of maybe grab the historic data that's out there describing ancient Rome or ancient Babylon or whatever, and then recreate that in a interesting way. Vero 2 is the one that Google just announced, and I'm on the wait list for that. I don't think many people have access to this one yet. It seems to be, what I've seen, better than Sora at this moment. But it is still limited. I haven't found a use for it, but I do, when I find these moments, I try to show them to my students, and then we talk about what does and doesn't work. And I think it's fun for them to analyze them, and also I think that's important, as you say, living in an AI world, they need to know that. The other tool is, and this is available to anyone for free, is Whisk, which it's an experimental one, and you can this has been one that I've really enjoyed the UI of. It's an image generator, and you can give the style, the subject, and if you go from launched an app by accident. So from scratch, the subject, scene, style, you can upload them, you can describe them. The cool thing is, even when you upload an image, it then uses like image to text generator to then describe it, and you can go in and change that description. So you can get iterations very well. So in my library, I created plushies of myself. This was trying to put myself in a textbook picture. It didn't work real well. But here's a plushie of myself with a yellow plaid shirt. It tells me the description of it, and I have it hanging in my classroom right there. My students find it funny, and so yeah. But I was able to edit the text and get to this pretty well, and it was fun to describe it. They also have. Go ahead.
Is plushie like a known term that I'm just totally unfamiliar with?
It's a stuffed animal that's not a person, or that's not an animal, is really kind of what I think I was going for. Although they look a lot like the Nintendo Mii figures, right, from the Wii. I got a lot of those vibes in there. I also tried to do Funko Pops. Again, here was an attempt of us podcasting, Aaron. It actually is a little better,
That's
I think.
Arguably a little better.
Yeah. There's some weird wires and mic stands that are hovering above mic stands, and headphones on the table for no one.
We have two headphone splitters.
Yeah. There's some confusing moments, but initially it looks good. And it looks like us fighting podcast. I don't know why we're fighting, and it's not really us. But anyway, so I think that was fun. I love the UI of this. They also have some music stuff. You can generate sound effects. The DJ, you can keep adding layers in. That was kind of fun.
I tried their music generator, and it was medium at best, though, in terms of based on what I thought were good prompts, that it turns into more of like a tag than a prompt.
Yeah, that was kind of my experience, is that it wasn't
Didn't generate what I was hoping for.
super. I didn't feel like it generated what I was asking for.
Yeah.
I was playing with a little, but it was still fun.
Yeah.
So, and the
Those
Beats
remind
one's
me a
probably
little
more
bit of
educational.
like the early Canva image generator. You know, the tools you just kind of reviewed there. That the question you asked, is this ready for the classroom? Probably not.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're kind of to the point where we're wrapping up, and we've covered a lot today. And to be honest with you, I came into this episode, Greg, not expecting the depth of experience that you bring to the table with creating your own GPT. So I've really learned from you. I want to just thank you for the time you've invested, the reading you've done to be able to share with us who haven't done that type of reading and in-depth research, all that's really possible, and just really kind of feel like you've blazed a trail with this MR2 concept that you've put together. I was thinking as we were talking through this, some of the topics here, how neat would it be if these, you know, you have your MR2. I don't know if you've constrained it only to the topics that you teach or not, but if a school were to go this route and really embrace it, you know, you have different teachers where their own GPTs are constrained to what they teach, and they could reference each other. You know, well, they prompt yours and say, well, I don't cover that. You know, maybe consult Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so's GPT, who is an expert in this topic, and they kind of had some kind of linking. I mean, your mind just kind of goes a little bit down this path, and you can see how fun and engaging, and what a great resource this could really be for students. So I think it's super neat what you're doing.
Yeah, I designed it to also tutor as well. So it's educational, but it is a tutor. And I think I heard an educational name with Bloom's taxonomy, right? And in some of I'm probably stuck in a different kind of way, but there's research that shows if each student can be given their own personal tutor, right, that would help them be successful. Right now, the issue is that we just don't have the resources, we don't have the people, don't have the money. And this is something that Salman Khan was talking about in his new book that was released recently. And so I designed MR2 to also be a tutor. What it will do is it will grab resources online. It'll try to sift through and find what's credible, what's not credible. And so I gave it a methodology of how to go ahead and find a good source, or how to reject a bad source, right? And it can be just about any topic. It could be math, science, English. And so some students have also been using MR2 as a tutor in this way. The mathematics, it's going well. My wife, she's the math teacher here, or a math teacher. We have two at this school. And so she's evaluated, and yep, the math is working well. And she also teaches Spanish. And so language, it's doing well in Spanish as well, MR2. And so, but what you mentioned there is, yeah, that's the future, is each teacher, they have their clone. And now that these AIs can become their own agents, right? They can communicate with one another, and you can even more so verify that the information you're working with is accurate and factual. And so that's definitely, something I'm excited about. And I'm hoping that more and more teachers go down this route and have their own custom GPTs, their own clones. And with that productivity I mentioned in the beginning, now with the agentic capabilities, we're going to see even more of a higher percentage. What I can say for my own work is that, yeah, totally, things have been far easier. That burden of like lesson planning, getting the quiz ready, getting these tests ready has been a bit more lifted, and I can focus more on a relationship with students. And I can focus more on the one-on-one, right? MR2 will handle the kind of, administrative tasks that make teaching a bit, boring at times, right? And then I can focus on what I want, which is that one-on-one with the student, hashing through ideas and really helping them succeed, giving them what they need to be successful.
That sounds fantastic. Thank you for blazing that trail for us. And I want to thank you, the listener, for joining us in today's journey into EdTech Unpacked. As we talked about so much, we should have constrained this podcast a little more. Thank you, Greg, for telling us about how you're blazing trails into creating your own generative AI bot. That's fantastic. We talked about how you can do similar stuff with Notebook LM and how you can use it to help look at and create activities and assignments and quizzes and tests and learning materials from your material that you have. We talked about Magic School and how you can use it in your classroom to create questions, to give the students access to AI and image generating. We've also took a little bit of look at Sora and Vero 2 from Google, and the video generators to talk about how they work. And then finally, we had a little fun with Whisk and talked about how you can make a little plushie for yourself of yourself for your students and help you have fun time with that.
Hey, we want to invite you, if you have questions that we can help with, send your EdTech problems to be solved to our help desk. You can do that by visiting our website at edtechunpack.com. There's even a place to submit an audio recording that we might just play on air. So we invite you to do that.
Also, I want to invite you guys to find us on X and Blue Sky. We'll leave our links in the notes. But we're trying to engage more on those platforms. And finally, as a teacher, man, this world is this AI stuff is so overwhelming. I feel overwhelmed. It's hard to really know where to start. I want to encourage you tune out so much of the noise. Like, just pick have fun with it. If you have time, just play with it, have it generate some stuff, find what works well for you. But remember, like, you're the professional in the room. This AI is not going to, Greg, you said it earlier, you're using it so much, but it's not going to replace you. It's a tool, a powerful tool that you can use, but you are the professional. It is not going to replace you. And also, your opinion matters way more than the AI's. You are way more professional. You are not going to be anywhere close to surpassed. Maybe it'll enable you to do some cool stuff. We are in an AI world, but you're a legendary teacher, and never forget that. And finally, remember that there is no substitute for great teaching. It is not about the tools and technology that you use, but how you foster meaningful relationships with your students in their lives. Be blessed.